G'day, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to introduce a wonderful member of the community, Chris Massih. So welcome, mate.
Thank you, John. Hi, everyone.
Chris has kindly donated his time, or very generous with his time, I should say, about his experience and give some insights as to his journey as a property investor and yeah, just sharing his journey with us. So, Chris, tell us a little bit more about yourself and where were you at your stage in your life before you started working with me or approached me?
Um, so for everyone, a little bit about me to start off with. So I'm 30, no dependents, single, very career orientated. Um, I guess I've always been a very driven person, whether it be in my work life or personal life. I guess working alongside you or closely with you, John, I think you would have picked up on that over the last few months. Um, For me specifically, the aim wasn't about getting rich overnight or the financial freedom that everyone keeps always talking about, but it's always been that ability to take care of my family. Coming from an ethnic background, just a very close family essentially, and seeing what my parents or my family did for me, being young, having that ability, to be, I guess, the rock that people need to rely on and during hard times, etc. That's been my biggest driver. I guess that's what makes me tick or what gets me up in the morning to keep moving. Um, Over the last few months, you would have heard me continuously say education is key and learning from others' mistakes as much as possible. I've made my share mistakes, but I mean, everyone's going to make mistakes in life. That's just life. But I guess taking the time to get educated can definitely save you a fortune. Um, Prior to commencing with you, John, I picked up another course, and at the time, I thought it was phenomenal. Started going through it more and more, though, and just unraveling and going down the rabbit hole, I started to notice that there were some things missing from it, or there was like a lack of depth in some of the topics that were covered. And I don't want to go into a lot of specifics to the other course, etc. But in my eyes, the other course successfully delved into like how to identify and purchase properties. But I guess it lacked the financial and like the actual strategy side for anyone that wanted to actually build a property portfolio or get into the game. I guess you always hear that property is a game of finance more than anything. And based on my personal experiences, that's definitely something that I guess I've now realized. I mean, you could essentially purchase one or two properties. You can get a significant amount of upside, especially given the current market. But if your goal is to build a successful portfolio in the long run, you do need that solid understanding of finances and structuring, especially at the beginning. That could save you a six-figure mistake, such as myself. Um, an example is you would know throughout my current scenario or my first purchases, I had that lack of understanding from strategy and structuring, which has now kind of hindered my ability or my borrowing capacity in a sense. Whereas if I took the time and spent that little bit of money at the front end, it have I would be in a much better situation in the long run. I mean, to think that the course is about $5,000, $6,000, give or take.
Mm.
The mistake that, based on what my current situation is, it's a six-figure mistake that's currently costing me a lot more. So I guess your course kind of bridged that gap and it kind of took my understanding to a whole new level. But if I go back to to your question about when I first approached you, I came to you with my situation and a significant problem at the time. And I kind of explained to you that I went to a few brokers, accountants, we went through the scenarios that they each ran me through, but none of them could actually give me that kind of solution to my problem without the significant financial impact. But during that first phone call, you were enthusiastic. I think any member in the group can definitely say that you're a very enthusiastic person. And you started thinking outside the box and you started throwing ideas and you started challenging my way of thinking. You kind of gave me ways to think to work around it. So based on our first engagement, I think that was the time when I thought I definitely now need to start with you because I hadn't paid anything at the time. It was just a phone call and you'd given me already invaluable knowledge. So for me, that was the big thank you.
Wow. You know, Chris, what strikes me, and kudos to you, is you are so honorable. Just going back to, you wanting to help your parents when most people are saying, I just want to get rich and have a passive income. So it's a very honorable thing. It's quite rare. So I want to pay kudos to that. And
Thank you.
then all the other things you've kindly said. Thank you, mate. Yeah, I'm here to serve, and it's not about the money, as you now know. And yeah, I'm really glad that you've got wonderful opportunity problems. It's just I was lucky enough to be the person showing you a couple of ideas to get around those opportunity
Thank you.
problems you've got. So
Big
thank
thank
you,
you.
mate. And let's move on now. How have you found the process of working with me and the course, etc.?
Engaging, to say the least. I mean, if I refer back to the previous course, I'd already picked up some invaluable knowledge from that piece, from going through that, but working with you, um, over the last few months, essentially my understanding has gone to a whole new level through the processes, how to actually think. I mean, I can even take some of the thought processes and apply them into my actual real life, whether it be my job, private life, etc. So for me, that has been invaluable to say the least. I mean, if I look at, let's just say, your course versus the other course, your course gives such a high, it's not just a high level amount of data, but it's breaking it down. You walk out of your course with a much with a statistically significant, you realize the difference between your course and the other course. And it's a whole new level of understanding. So for that, that's my biggest thank you. But at the same time, and this is obviously quite to my relevant to my situation, the whole concept of trusts, you break that down into layman terms. You also, and you've essentially aimed me with the language and the
Mm.
thought process to use when going back to my accountant. So that's something that the other course hasn't done. That's something that you can't listen to on YouTube. That's not something that you can just pick up. That's something that someone that's gone through very similar experiences, or in your case, 20 years of knowledge in the game, that's what you're getting from this course. For me, I definitely do appreciate the time that you take to explain every scenario in detail from specifically your course, but then you're always taking that back and you're giving it, you're reapplying it to my scenarios as well. So you're kind of like giving a 360 feedback loop of here's the lesson, but here's how we now apply it to me. And I mean, working with you, for everyone on the call, my our first phone call was on a Friday afternoon at 6 o'clock, just before a long weekend, and I thought it was definitely going to get rescheduled, but you messaged and you confirmed for the time. So for me, there's an old age saying of the customer is king. And I guess for me, you've definitely demonstrated that over the last few months. You've definitely made me feel that way. So again, a very big thank you.
Oh, thank you, mate. Thanks, Chris. I'm glad to hear that the course is everything and beyond what you were expecting, and the service you're getting is great. And back to your point, I think I've done a lot of wonderful courses, and the one that you were talking about is an amazing course. But like anything, there's always room for improvement. And just the benefit of being older and a lot more experience, I can see that for most people, when they want to do the investment journey, yeah, there's an ecosystem, and there's so many parts to it that if you miss one part, it could really, really stuff up the whole portfolio, as you know. And you mentioned trusts and asset holding entities, like that should be taught right at the beginning before anyone starts buying things. So it's interesting that you picked up on that. So thank you.
My
And the
pleasure.
quality of the data too, like, the
Correct.
higher level data I'm trying to get you to look at, even beyond what you learnt in the other course,
Correct.
is just so powerful, and the confidence it gives you is enormous, you know?
And I think you've said it, it's the ecosystem. The other course just delves specifically into the data at some stages, but it does have that, it does lack specific pieces in it. But you've just brought in the entire ecosystem, the actual financial side, the confidence side in purchasing, sorry, the confidence in the data that you're reading, your network of individuals that you've put me through. So again, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And actually, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the network. You're only as good as your team of advisors. So can you give an example of, say, a referral that
Yep.
made a difference to you?
Um, so you've essentially put me through to an accountant. And I've obviously just touched on it, the fact that the Friday phone call, the Friday night phone call before a long weekend, um, you started, you made me think a lot about different scenarios. And you did give me some research to go do myself, but the way that you were able to break it down was quite easy to follow at that time. But at the same time, you've put me through in touch. You've put me in touch with a financial planner and accountant, which is already quite a rare combo to find because I guess usually they're on opposite sides.
Yeah.
So to be able to have that and speaking to him, he's essentially opened up. As you know, my situation's quite difficult to get out of, but the way that he was able to bring everything in because he's also thinking from a legal sense, the taxation office point of view. So um, it's something that you wouldn't usually find in an individual. So having already engaged him and he's already given me what needs to be done, and that framework or that roadmap of how to move forward, um, that's already beyond anything I would have ever expected from a course. Um, we're talking about a six-figure mistake potentially initially prior to engaging you in the accountant, but now there's a way forward where I'm saving myself a six-figure mistake.
Yeah.
So
That's great. That's gold. Yeah.
also, I touched on the fact that I'm always education is key and I'm always quite driven. You've put me in touch with someone, a CEO. I don't want to go into too much depth, but you put me in touch with a CEO who's done the Harvard MBA, and you're using that to help me in my own personal development as well, and how to think in a big from different points of views in different contexts. I would have never thought that you would be putting me in touch with a very successful person just for my own development. So, what course would you buy where um, you're leveling up your knowledge? Great, that's part of the course. But then you're also getting that network of individuals that are helping propel you forward, not just in like your real estate investment journey, but as an actual person and how to think and how to talk. So that's just two examples that you've provided that I would have never expected. So thank you again.
My pleasure, Chris. It's always a joy to see a young, intelligent person grow, and whether it's in my field of expertise or in another field. So yeah, it's just a joy to watch it. So which reminds me now. So let's talk about what you've been able to accomplish working with me, if you can. We can expand on that a little bit more. And how is your life different now?
So I've clearly mentioned a few times my concerns about my current situation, how that's impacted my borrowing capacity, etc. Um, with for everyone on the call or listening to this, to kind of summarize where I am, I'm single, I'm 30, I've got no dependents. I'm on what a lot of people would consider a very high income. So you wouldn't usually think that borrowing capacity would be an issue for someone like me. But when all the brokers and all the accountants that have essentially gone and engaged or approached, none of them could give me a solution. That kind of starts taking a mental toll on you because I guess you the social media and all of that, it gives you the idea of financial freedom. Anyone can do it and all of these things. And for me, I've always been a very driven person. And I never thought that a small mistake like that could cost me so many opportunities and obviously a direct cost. So that's obviously taken a significant toll on me mentally, because I've always thought I'm doing the right thing, I'm doing the right thing, I'm doing the right thing. And then when you find that out, to say that it took a mental toll on me for months and months and months um, is an understatement, I guess. But again, like speaking to you, speaking to the accountant and everyone, and you guys giving me a way forward, this has gone now beyond just the investment journey or like, the roadmap of acquisitions or how to structure it. It's now you've given me kind of like a peace of mind again, or that relief. I'm not going to say that I didn't sleep beforehand because of this, but I've always had that worry in the back of my mind that, how can I do everything right, etc. But then one small mistake cost me so much. But so again, for me, it's just, yeah, the fact that you've given me like a light at the end of the tunnel and a roadmap of how to get to it, that's beyond, that's more than I expected. I mean, I can also recall I could spend, 6 to, let's just say, 10 hours a week, spending that time and energy trying to learn from the other course. And yes, the other course is structured and it's great and it gives you that how to purchase a property, I guess, how to look for properties successfully. But you've then taken that to a new level in your specific course, the confidence, right? Because I guess if you're armed with data, at least historic data, and you've got a really good understanding of that, you build that confidence automatically. It might not give you all the confidence that you need, but you're now a lot more confident in what you're doing. So how do I kind of try and frame this? If I spent 6 to 10 hours on the other course, I might have been a little bit lost, regardless of how structured it was, etc. Am I doing the right thing? If I now spend 6 to 10 hours going through your course based on everything, I feel like I'm making leaps and strides. And I'm the type of person where if I get a small win and I do like something clicks, I'll then continue building on it. And so for me, it's just been, I used to spend 6 to 10 hours a week feeling a little bit lost and unsure of my direction or trajectory. Whereas now I spend that exact time, but now I know which way I'm going. And to be honest, I'm spending even less and less time now going through the course or thinking about real estate or am I doing the right thing? It was always on my mind. What am I doing? What am I doing? Are you on the right path? Whereas with you now, I don't have to spend all that time and energy. I mean, energy is finite in a
Yeah.
sense. And so I'm diverting that additional energy back into work, back to my loved ones, etc. So that's not
Of course.
something that you could actually just pick up from a normal course.
Yeah.
So again,
Wow. Well said, Chris. And I think a lot of people could relate to you in that when they start their journey, they come often with not baggage, but things that are slowing them down, or like you said, maybe you did something with good intentions, which you did. You were trying to help your parents, but it helped you out. It's really slowed you down. But as you know, mate, we're onto it, and you've got people around you. So, yeah, and thank you, mate. The course really is designed to give you all the knowledge you need in a systematic way to make sure that you do achieve whatever goal is that you have, whether it's to pay off your home, passive income, or in your case, to help your parents. So, but kudos to you, Chris, because you take the knowledge and you apply it and take it to another level yourself. So anyway, Chris, thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate the opportunity that you presented today to talk about your experience with the course and working with me. And yeah, I look forward to working with you in the future.
pleasure. Thank you, John. Thank you.